Joining us now is Congressman Morgan Griffith, Republican, 9th District. Congressman, great to have you with us.
Great to be with you.
You finally got your wish backwards, I guess. Governor Northam saying, yes, we're going to go forward on Friday, May 15th, but not for all the counties in Northern Virginia. But this is the same thing that you were asking for 3 weeks ago. Can you just help us understand what is going on here?
Well, no, I can't. The governor would have to explain that. Look, I'm happy that it is finally happening, that we're going to see some with measures that, people have to do social distancing and be courteous and wear masks, and if you're in a large crowd. But you're right, we've been asking for this for some time, and the governor said absolutely not. After indicating he might, he then said, no way, we're all going to do this together. And then he said, okay, we're going to open up all together, except if you don't want to. I wish he'd given us that option a few weeks ago. I know Roanoke County actually sent him a resolution saying, let us open up. Mm-hmm. And I think that, a number of counties in Southwest Virginia would have gone ahead and opened up.
Basically, this was your position weeks ago. I mean, he's come to the same conclusion, as he said, only the other way around. But if you read that executive order of his, and I guess I didn't read any of the other governors, but I did read his. And actually, it was my wife that read it and then said, I'm going to read this to you. Do you have like 15 minutes? Because that's about how long it takes. And you start reading through this thing, and I mean, he's got a stipulation for everything. And then there's other things that aren't clear, like, well, you can go to an outside gym, but you can only be 10 people. On what acreage? Is that like a sandbox or a baseball field, which is 3 acres? Is that 10 person per acre? Acre is a pretty big area. I mean, this thing is theater of the absurd.
Well, and that's always been the problem, which I pointed out when I said, let the churches open up, because you've got restrictions that don't make any sense, and you can't restrict churches more than you do other facilities, because the Lowe's in Salem 2 Saturdays ago looked like there was a rock concert inside, because, hardware stores were open. Mm-hmm. Didn't say how many people could be in there at one time. There had to be at least 1,000 people in there that Saturday. Mm-hmm. And yet no restrictions, not even a requirement that, everybody wear masks. Hopefully people were. I didn't go in that day. But if there's that many people in there, that would have been a problem, except that, we don't have that many cases. Roanoke Valley has more than some parts of Southwest Virginia. But, it's always been a problem with his orders, is that, it's not clear that, hardwares are open, but churches aren't. That didn't make sense. I do think his new church requirement does meet constitutional muster, where the old one did not. But, I really am not sure. I mean, he indicates on a Friday or a Thursday that he might open up regionally, and then on Monday he says absolutely not. And now, a week and a half, 2 weeks later, he says, yes, we're going to do that. I mean, it's hard to tell. And then we have the whole testing dilemma. They keep saying, Virginia's okay, we're doing fine, we're increasing testing. The latest data indicates we're 49th or 50th out of all the states of testing. Mm-hmm. Where's the money that we sent from the federal government? You talked about the billions and now $3 trillion, but we sent billions of dollars to Virginia. What's that money being used for? I mean, I'm sure there's some overtime requirements and so forth, and the National Guard's helping out where they can and so forth, and that costs money. But, how come we're getting our clocks cleaned on testing by all the states that my district touches? West Virginia,
right, North
Carolina, and Tennessee is in the top 10 last time I checked.
Right.
And they've been doing drive-by testing for 3 weeks. The State Department goes out and they pick a county, and we're going to be there today. And if you have a Tennessee license plate, you can get tested. They're doing that in the New River Valley, but they're doing it with local money.
So you're asking what happened to Virginia's federal money for testing?
Yeah. We sent special money in for testing through HHS, but we also just sent money for the state to use to help, combat all the expenses they were going to have in doing testing and providing PPEs, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And I know some of it's been used, but how come we're so far behind? I mean, that's the question that I think Virginians need to be asking. It's, look, I'm not saying that our testing has to be equal to New York City. They're a hot spot. But Northern Virginia is a hot spot too. But that being said, why are we behind Tennessee? Why are we behind West Virginia per capita? That doesn't make any sense. And so, was it a I mean, are we spending the money, or is it just a failure of leadership in the governor's administration?
Have you asked the governor, Congressman Griffith, where the money went?
I have not. It's on my list of things to do if I have the ability to be on the call this Thursday. We have a call every Thursday. I've asked about testing before. I begged. At one point, we had a little bit of an outbreak in Buchanan County. We had a private Christian school down there that takes in a lot of students who have no place else to go, and I don't think anybody was even hospitalized, but they had some people that tested positive, and the town of Grundy, which is where this is, wanted to upgrade their testing, and we couldn't get anything out of the administration. They just kept telling us, well, we don't have the ability, and we've got to send it to the hot spots. But per capita, for about a week there was real concern that this thing was going to break out into our coal communities, where a lot of people do have, compromised lung situations, and we couldn't get anything, and you still see the governor way behind. Just makes us wonder or the state of Virginia way behind, makes you wonder what are we doing, or what have we been doing with the money, and I do plan to ask the governor that question. You
have a conference call every Thursday with the governor, right? The Virginia congressional delegation?
That is correct.
All right. So we look forward to that. Obviously, we don't want you to tell us anything that's confidential, but, the fact that you do have a call, and we do hope you ask that question. You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth Across America. I'm with Congressman Morgan Griffith, Republican, 9th District of Virginia, that Southwest Virginia area. Goes all the way from Roanoke through Salem, all the way out to Bristol and beyond, one of the biggest districts land-wise in the country. Morgan, let me ask you this. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats rolling out what they say is a Rooseveltian-like program, a $3 trillion stimulus goodie package. Everybody gets $2,000 a month until January. Unemployment extended to January, $600 a month. No money for businesses in there because they want small businesses to go under because they don't vote for them. So we all die, but everybody else gets money, etc. And, of course, there's a goodie bag of stuff, like there's money in there to vote by mail for vote harvesting, contact tracers, so we can add an army of, a million people tracking everything we do and knocking on our doors. Just a little prerequisite to taking away our guns. What do you think of this whole thing?
Well, it's clearly a Christmas tree of wish lists that the Democrat Party's wanted for some time, dressed up as an aid package. There's some aid in there, and there's some things in there that I have voted for, but don't have any business in this bill. Bailing out some pensions or putting in a loan program for pensions, the Butch-Lewis Act. I actually voted for that because I thought it gave most of the multi-pension plans an opportunity to, bail themselves out with some loan money from the federal government. Now it shows up in a coronavirus package. Well, we voted on that, some time ago. It had nothing to do with coronavirus. What's it doing in a coronavirus package? Mm-hmm. And even though I like it, it doesn't belong in this bill. Even though I voted for it, it doesn't belong in this bill. There's some other things. There's marijuana banking provisions in there. Something else that I had previously voted for, mm-hmm. because I think that federal law needs to be consistent, and we've got a patchwork quilt, and now we've got bankers who are trying to deal with legitimate businesses in Colorado and other places. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm not for recreational marijuana, but they're doing it in other states, and the bankers are worried they're going to get hit with federal charges if they handle the money. Mm-hmm. So I think that makes sense, but it doesn't belong in a coronavirus bill. And then you get to the things like, forcing, it's basically a federal takeover of the election process, which has always been left to the states. And now they're going to have one size fits all in all the states, and every state has to, comply with mail-in voting so many days before the election, no signature, no ID. The states can't say we want an ID to make sure that you are who you say you are. Then you get to, people who are undocumented illegal immigrants, and there's some stuff in there for them. I haven't been able to figure out everything that's in there. It's an 1,815-page bill that came out yesterday just after noon, or maybe just before noon. And I've read the 90-page summary. I'm going to work on the full bill. And obviously, in the meantime, I'm having to get myself to D.C. to make sure I'm there to cast a vote. But I'm voting no based on what I've already seen. But I want to make sure that I have a better idea of everything that's on that Democrat Christmas tree wish list.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but it's incredible. And keep in mind, no Republican was asked, what do you think about this? Mm-hmm. At least none that have told us they have been. Mm-hmm. The leadership was completely cut out of this. This is all Nancy Pelosi and her Democrat caucus, including Abigail Spanberger and Luria. And I don't know whether they had a hand in it or not, but they're expected to go in like good soldiers and vote yes for the Nancy Pelosi giveaway plan.
So it's going to pass the House. There's no question about it. Probably no Republican support whatsoever. Maybe Justin Amash, or he's an independent or whatever he is now, libertarian.
He's libertarian.
Yeah,
now.
whatever.
Yeah.
It then goes to the Senate, and I think their strategy, Congressman Griffith, is that because there's this guaranteed basic income, GBI, or whatever you want to call it, of $2,000 a month for people, that she feels the Republicans will be under tremendous pressure to pass it because, it's a giveaway and why, people want $2,000 a month free money. So she believes that McConnell will be under tremendous pressure. Trump will be under pressure to sign it. But I got to tell you, if the Republicans sign off on this thing in the Senate, I think the party would be done. I think they would get wiped out in November. Because, look, we were all for the PPP. We were all for the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. This thing, you look at it, is obscene. It is an obscenity. And I don't know why Republicans would not stop this in the Senate. Do you have a sense, sir, what might happen there?
I don't see the Republicans in the Senate supporting it.
Right.
Because there is a crisis and because it's a new virus and we were trying to figure out where we were going, we did some things that we thought were okay in the short run, but not long run. They're taking some of those and extending them and making them long run things, and they're throwing in a lot of other things. Look, there is difficulty ahead because we still don't know everything we need to know about the virus.
Right.
But willy-nilly extending things, into 2021. Making the unemployment go a whole lot longer just means that our economy is going to be that much more damaged, and I don't see the Republicans supporting it. And I will tell you, it's interesting. I'm getting a sense, although the polling data doesn't show it, but it all depends on who you poll and how you ask the question, as you know.
Right.
But I'm getting a sense that and this is from conversations with colleagues, not just the 9th District, that in a large part of areas, there is a real revolt starting because we haven't been able to open up businesses under reasonable concerns and reasonable restrictions. I sense there's a real revolt, and that some people who have voted Democrat in the past, not your hardcore left, are actually making decisions that they could not deal with this team in complete control. And I think you're going to see that show up on Election Day. I think you're going to see people register to vote who haven't registered before, or people who have been casual voters are going to come out in droves, as they did 4 years ago, and they're going to support the president. And even some who don't like the way the president talks and so forth are going to come out and support the president because they're showing us, with this bill in particular and their behavior on this bill, they are showing the American people that you don't want to trust these people with the levers of power in their complete control.
Let me ask you something. 5 days ago, I doubted what you're saying. I don't like the comms team, what they're doing at the White House. I've been very critical of it. I think it's been a clown show. I think the last 3 weeks in there has been an embarrassment. I think what the campaign is putting out is equally ridiculous. So nobody's a bigger Trump supporter than me, Congressman, but you have to be honest, right? If you tell people what they want to hear, you don't go anywhere. Comms team has been a clown show. Campaign, I don't know, they keep sending me press releases about how many tests they've done. I don't think it matters to people how many tests you've done. I think people want to know when the hell you're getting back to work and when we're going back to school and are we going to have high school football, which I keep bringing up to everybody, and it goes over their head like they don't understand how important that is to communities in the South. I mean, high school football is all they have. So I've been unhappy with the whole thing. And then you look at the polling, which, 66% of all people say, yes, if I'm in Michigan, keep me home and keep me bankrupt, but send me a check or whatever. But then you look at what happened last night in California, District 25, where you had a pretty good candidate, Garcia, airline pilot, in a district that Hillary Clinton carried by 6, that the former Congresswoman who had to resign carried by 10. Now Garcia's up with 81% and he's up by 13. He's going to win handily. That's right now. He's up by 12. It went 10 the other way and 18. That's a 22-point swing with fraudulent mail-in ballots. Does that give you a sense of hope today?
Yes. I mean, if
Honestly.
he had just eked it out, maybe not. But I think what you're seeing is that you're seeing that sense of frustration. And they do not like what the Democrats are serving up as their style of leadership and their philosophies. And I think you're going to see a rejection across the country. That district is a swing district. Republicans can win it. So if he'd won it by 2 or 3, I might not feel that way. I might say, you've got to be careful. It might have been a low turnout. Mm-hmm. This is more than a low turnout. This is frustration and anger.
There might be a ray of hope here. That average people are looking at these governors with these dictatorial things they're doing like Ralph Northam has and saying, I've had enough of this and I'm going to send the message. We saw that in L.A. Meantime, I got to go. Thank you, Congressman, for being with us. John Fredericks Radio Network.